all of it real.
Did you guys watch the teaser trailer for Invincible Season 4, Episode 4? If you didn't, we suggest you go watch it right now and then come back to this video because it's going to be full of spoilers. So, now that we have that out of the way, let's just say that Mark going to hell isn't all that surprising. In fact, we kind of knew it was coming since the end of Season 3. So why is he going there? What will happen once he gets there? And how will this change the world of Invincible? We'll answer all those questions and more in this video. So without further ado, let's get right to it.
Forgive me, Lord. Would not dare awaken the great beast.
Robert Kirkman's second draft approach to Invincible, the animated series. Series creator Robert Kirkman has maintained one perspective on the animated Invincible series, which explains why we're getting the Hell arc in the first place. He's treating this like a second draft of his original work. When Kirkman wrote Mark Grayson's story for Image Comics, there were many things that he wanted to do with it, but simply couldn't because of constraints that were either placed on him by the publishers or because of the timing. For instance, the battle between Omni-Man and Invincible was supposed to happen like a dozen issues after issue number 11, but because Image needed to solidify Invincible's sales, an entire slow-burning arc about the investigation into the murder of the Guardians of the Globe was cut from the series. And this kept happening with several other characters and storylines for the rest of Invincible's run, because he kept getting sidetracked and could never find the right time to fit them within the flow of the main plotline in a meaningful way. That's where Simon Rasiopa comes into the picture, because as the showrunner of Invincible, he wanted to honor Kirkman's original vision. Kirkman is part of the writers team that works on this series for Amazon, and he's deeply involved in the process of creating the many fascinating storylines we've gotten so far. One of the reasons that Invincible, the TV show, doesn't feel as clunky or as rushed as its comic book counterpart is because Kirkman finally has the chance to smooth out the rocky bits of his narrative and adapt things that have only existed as headcanon or fan canon up until this point. Comic fans will know that Debbie Grayson didn't really have as much of a presence in the story, unlike the TV series, where we see her spending a lot of time with her children, especially Oliver. That moment where Debbie takes him to get his new costume in Season 4 and is thinking back to when she took Nolan to art is an addition Kirkman probably always wanted to be established canonically, but he just couldn't get around to doing it. He also said that when he was writing for Conquest, he fell in love with the character so much that he wrote all this cool backstory material for him and originally planned to show him a lot more. But in the end, Conquest played out like an arrogant, power-obsessed maniac in his work, whereas in the show, he's become iconic for his loneliness speech. That's Kirkman's headcanon getting new life thanks to Simon Rasiopa, and this is why Amazon's Invincible is a second draft in their minds. In this show, they're getting the chance to tell the full story that Robert wanted to tell originally by referring to his notes and ideas in the writer's room. One of his main goals for the series is to foreshadow its ending cleanly and to make all of its story beats transition from one to another smoothly and meaningfully. That's where the Hell arc comes into play. Effectively, this is a lost chapter from the Invincible archives. Kirkman always wanted to send Mark on an arc where he fought the devil, because Marvel and DC have done it so many times that it's become a comic book standard in a way. But because of everything we just mentioned, he couldn't do it in the comics. With this show, he has the chance to bring the viewers and hardcore Invincible fans storylines that were left on the cutting room floor. And the biggest one we've been hearing about since Season 1 is Invincible Goes to Hell. The setup for the Hell arc, what we know is confirmed for Invincible Season 4. In the comics, Damian Darkblood is a pistache character. He's a play on paranormal detectives like John Constantine, dressed up in Hellboy attire, and also kind of looks like Hellboy, to be honest with you guys. That's mostly because he's a demon who's working on Earth as an investigator, and originally he was going to play a much bigger role in the comics beyond being a punchline. It was going to be Damian's investigation that exposed Omni-Man's involvement in the murder of the Guardians, whereas in the show, Debbie also ends up playing a huge role. Her taking Nolan's supersuit to art reveals the fact that he attacked the Guardians unprovoked, and while Darkblood comes to the same conclusion independently, instead of being allowed to hang out in the Pentagon and see the consequences of his solve firsthand, he's shipped back to Hell. That's because there's a major difference between him and Debbie, and that's the fact that Damian Darkblood doesn't exactly know subtlety. He was going to go public with his findings, and handling his business in the open just isn't what Cecil Stedman does. He prefers the knife in the dark approach, letting things build up to the point where stepping in is no longer an option, and Damian Darkblood was about to make that very complicated for him to pull off. Darkblood also thought that humans could do nothing to him, since he's a literal demon and his powers come from hell. Unless someone had access to with a specific ritual to banish him to hell, he was safe. Unfortunately for him, Cecil Stedman loves doing his homework, and he'd figured out how to do exactly that, which is how Damian ended up in hell in season 1. We didn't see him again for the rest of that season, the whole of the second season, and the third season as well, right up until the post-credit scene where he finally resurfaced. In that scene, Damian summons a demon lord, and it's clear that this demon, despite being small of stature, is a lot more powerful than Damian himself. He threatens to eat Mr. Herm because he doesn't want his time to be wasted, and that's where the setup for Invincible's Hell arc locks in. Damian says he has a method to get this demon lord his rightful throne again, because he's found a surface dweller with immense power and a heart black with sin. And while Kirkman pretty much confirmed that this is how Mark would end up in hell, he stayed vague about what going to hell would entail for him. Before the teaser trailer for season 4 episode 4 dropped, all we knew is that this demon lord, being played by Bruce Campbell of all people, is going to be his equivalent of Satan. When he was asked in interviews whether he meant Satan when he said that Mark was going to go fight the devil himself, Kirkman said could be twice, and that's as close to a confirmation as we could have gotten from it. So now that we know Ash from Evil Dead is playing Satan himself, and that Damian is probably looking for revenge on humanity for banishing him to a place he worked so hard to escape from, the path to the Hell arc seems a lot clearer. It's likely that Darkblood doesn't blame Cecil alone for being back in hell. He also blames Omni-Man because it was his gruesome murder of the Guardians that got him banished in the first place. It's clear from the way he phrased that statement about the surface dweller that he was thinking about Nolan, but once he realizes Nolan is off planet, his focus will shift to Invincible, because when Omni-Man took out the Guardians, Mark was already a superhero. In the teaser for episode 4, we see Mark getting a call from Eve while he's with Art. He's probably there to get his original suit back, but before he can do that, Eve hits him up about a job. He says that he can do it, but when he hears where the job's gonna take place, the narration shifts to the narrator saying that hell, demons, and Satan are all real. We see the fires of hell being reflected in the visor of Mark's black and blue suit as Bruce Campbell's character walks onto a battlefield. We know it's Campbell's Satan because he has the same tail and hunched hooves as the character we saw threatening Darkblood at the end of season 3. This character and its allies, which might include Invincible considering that's what Darkblood promised Satan in the post-credit scene, fight a Skeletor-type figure whose head and body are on fire. What this basically means is that Mark's being called in for a civil war in hell, and he won't have any clue how to handle it when he gets there, because hell itself isn't like the place he's heard of growing up. In our heads, this journey is also an indictment of Invincible's recent desire to put a permanent end to villains, because that's a moral quandary plaguing Mark's soul. And if he's being prepared as a vessel for Satan to use in some sort of way, then that struggle will become personified during his time in hell. What's interesting to note here is that the Skeletor Ghost Rider guy's look also resembles Spawn a little bit. And the reason that's interesting is because in the comics, Spawn actually showed up in Invincible. He was one of the heroes that responded to the Invincible War because that was actually an Image Comics crossover event. In fact, one of the evil Marks had killed the Spawn of his universe, and him meeting Spawn again in Prime Mark's universe was set up as a grudge match. Considering we didn't see most of those crossover characters in the Amazon continuity, we don't think Spawn can help Mark out of the spot he finds himself in during the Hell arc, but it would be cool if he did show up in some capacity. However, as for the Hell arc itself, this is the entire setup for it, and it's going to be quite an interesting bottle episode to say the least. It has grounding in the series. It's literally set in a place where the sinners are damned for eternity, and it reflects the personal struggles of our protagonist. Whether he ends up helping Satan because his buddy called him in for a job, or ends up being tricked by the devil, Mark is headed to the infernal inferno either way. And if they pull off a Wolverine goes to hell kind of situation with all this, then there's a slight possibility we won't even see Invincible in episode 4. We'll see Hellvincible. As for the future of Hell in the Amazon series, it remains doubtful if we see it after Herm, because everything about this episode is framed as a self-contained manner. But Hell isn't going to disappear just because one Viltrumite showed up and helped to restructure his hierarchy. It's possible that Hell will remain a major destination in all the seasons that follow this one. And if it does, then expect Mark's involvement with Satan to be the end for any future stories set there. But for now, this is all we can reliably tell you guys about why Invincible will go to hell, using context clues and without relying on rumors and hearsay. So let us know what you think about this storyline and what it means for the future of Invincible down in the comments. Like and share this video and subscribe to our channel for more Invincible content, because we know you guys are just as hyped for this as we are. And we'll see you guys real soon with yet another video. So until then, stay safe. And if a friend calls you with a contract for you from the fiery pits of the abyss, maybe reconsider it before committing your soul to the cause of the devil.